China's viral quote-unquote skinny enough challenge are making people sick. I mean, the title is pretty straightforward, but let's see what the video has to say.
天哪，看看我这个肚子，直接大了一大圈。挑战7天瘦7斤，
挑战100天瘦30斤。
我真的太想瘦了，姐妹们。
Chinese internet is no stranger to skinny enough challenges.
我可以锁骨上放硬币，能放很多个。
There was the collarbone coin challenge.
厉害呀！
It's actually really interesting for me to see this, even though this video is a couple months old. I recently had family over, and I remember how skinny my cousin was when I first met her, and I decided to talk to her about it. And she had this obsession where she felt as if she gained any more weight than she does have now, it's basically all over. And she's Korean, and she's also in American age, she's also 13. And that just blew my mind. I don't know where in Asia this came from, but it's really interesting to see. I never heard of this coin challenge on your collarbone, but by the looks of it, this only seems like to be like a challenge that makes people super self-conscious and makes them feel bad.
And the A4 waist challenge. As well as the belly button challenge.
Whoa!
试穿小码优衣库童装照，引发广大网友关注。
The children's section at Uniqlo China also made headlines as adult women flocked to the brand's fitting rooms to snap selfies trying on kids' clothes.
You know, I think China's a very interesting place because I think out of all the countries in Asia, China is probably the, well, size-wise, like land-wise, it's the biggest. But it is also the biggest in terms of setting these internet trends that are super popular in Asia. And I think when it comes to like this one of like clothes and stuff, it's not just being able to fit in something that's like made for like 5 or 6 year olds. I think it's also to like appear to be young, because in Asia, everybody is obsessing over like that quote unquote youthful look. They like 4-year-olds want to look like 25-year-olds, 70-year-olds want to look like 40-year-olds. And I think when you wear clothes that are meant to be worn by young people, it also helps with that. So I think China's really good at setting trends like this, whether or not they're like really toxic or not, because there's just so many people. So as soon as like a tiny thing gets super popular, it spreads super fast. Like I would say probably faster than overnight, because China has WeChat, and WeChat is basically the most popular app in the world. I think like more than 1 billion users, and you can do everything on it. So I think trends, like China sets world trends.
我觉得我的烹饪还是蛮健康的，反正跟吃外卖比起来还是比较健康的。
That is true.
但是那种完全清淡的我也不太 OK。我觉得吃东西如果不开心，我就不吃。当时上大学的时候，因为我非常喜欢表演，然后当时在话剧社的时候，一个学长就跟我说，你和另外一个同学是我们这一届招上来戏最好的2个人，但是呢，你要考虑一下，因为你这个胖的原因，你要知道你永远没有机会当主角，就是因为你的外貌的问题。
Okay, first of all, aside from the fact that like we can all agree that this is extremely fucking harsh, I'm not Chinese, but I am Korean, and the thing that I realized just by hearing that is that even though like there are clear cultural differences between like China and Korea, the way that they talk to each other is still really strict. I mean, it's very similar, because as a Korean person, when I was in Korea, like I'm tan, right? So when I went to Korea, usually in the culture that I grew up in, American culture, when you meet up with people, the first thing you would say is something like, what's up? Or like, how you doing? Or maybe like, you want to go grab some food or something like that. But in Korea, it's the complete opposite. People have the tendency in Korea to look at you and look for something that they don't like about you, or something that's like negatively changed about you, whether that's maybe like how dark you are. Korea, or Asians in general, have this obsession, like China, Korea, and Japan have this obsession when it comes to like being pale, because that's seen as beautiful. And that probably has something to do with the fact that, like, if you're pale, that means you work an office job. That means you are successful. You are not a physical laborer. And this is especially true for women. But my main point is just basically like, when I was in Korea, one of the people came up to me and he was like, wow, you got really, really dark. And they straight up just called me black. And I'm like, I'm only slightly more, like, this guy was tan too, but I was more tan because I was a swimmer. And then it just blew my mind that people had the gall to just say that to somebody that I didn't even really know. Like, I did not know this guy very well. I've seen him like 2 or 3 times, but he just looked at me. He's like, damn, you're black now. And it's the same thing in China. I think Asian culture in general has this like tendency to like really be blunt with people, even though it is extremely harsh. And sure, there are like merits to being blunt because it like makes a person very aware very quickly. But you can't just say someone, oh, you can't get the main role in this play because you're just fat. Like, I'm sure there are other reasons. You literally could have just said, I think they are better suited for the role because they simply act better than you. It still stings, but it's a lot nicer.
"22-year-old Cindy became a child star at the age of 15. She formed a band with her high school friends called Sunshine. In 2016, they quickly became famous when they appeared on Weibo's hot search as the so-called ugliest girl group.
Yikes.
Cindy felt they were given this nickname because of their sizes.
那上面全是骂我的，点开哪个手机，就是你点开哪个软件，它都是我们的消息，没有一处是可以就是躲避的地方。当时都在学校里边上学，哪个小孩他心里边受得住啊？
She has a very valid point when it comes to this whole criticism thing. I don't really agree when it comes to this makeup style, but who am I to say, you know, who looks prettier or not? I'm wearing a white shirt with a black PlayStation hat, but like, either way, I don't think these girls are like just blatantly ugly. I like, maybe their sense of beauty is different from what the majority of China feels, but like, being a child and being criticized on the internet is really fucked up. And this is purely like a Gen Z problem because parents have no idea what the fuck this feels like. Because the most advanced thing that they got to interact with day to day was like that spin dial phone when they were growing up. That's probably the most advanced thing. Or like in my parents' case, like having leather shoes was like the most amazing thing in the world. But like for people to like actively criticize, and for like Chinese news media outlets to start saying, oh look, here's China's next biggest ugliest girl group, like on top of being like really offensive and stuff, this just blatantly comes off as being very, very selfish. And I don't blame that, because there's also something in China called the 996 work ethic, where you wake up at 9 and then you keep working until 9. So 12-hour days, 6 days a week. And I think this is really prevalent in the tech industry. And I think that drives people to be very selfish, and they kind of vent that towards other people. And in this case, it's the girl groups where they're like, oh my God, look how ugly these girls are. I'm going to make myself feel better by making them feel bad. And I think that's just like that's everywhere in the world, but I think it's really prevalent in China because the expectation to be like super perfect is really fucking high over there.
那肯定刚开始他是没有办法接受的呀，就是别人只要一说起来外貌，我就时刻准备着去扎别人一针的那种感觉。
Yikes.
Worldwide eating disorders have increased from approximately 3% to 8% between 2000 and 2008.
That is huge for China.
And females are around 4 times more likely to be diagnosed. The Shanghai Mental Health Center reported that eating disorder outpatients grew from 8 in 2002 to about 3,000 in 2020.
Holy shit.
While those hospitalized rose from 1 to 218 during the same period. 25-year-old Porpor was diagnosed with an eating disorder when her weight plummeted to 28 kilograms.
28
She now works as
28 kilograms. Well, since I'm American, how much is that in pounds? 28 kg, 2 lbs. 61 pounds for what? Oh my god.
a hospital intern and a body-positive influencer.
之前因为我经常半夜里面会吃很多东西，然后吃到就是呼吸不过来。冰箱之前还没有这个锁的时候是这个。这个就是你开门的时候就会响。现在我在看原来使用的薄荷健康，然后它是一个计算卡路里的软件。那你好像减肥的时候就只能吃这一些，像馒头啊、面条都会被放到谨慎使用的东西里面。
饭放这边吧。
刚开始的时候，2016年
She-
因为是我
oh
刚
my
刚进入
god,
大
she's
学
nothing
嘛
but
然后
bones.
我也就是看网上就各种信息告诉我，比如说80斤的人哪有一个腿粗的，那么我就想说，那我要不就我全身减肥吧。我就开始有很明显的想要从运动，然后少吃，再到后来就选择节食。从
Dude
2016年到2018年，逐渐从100斤左右，然后瘦到了50多斤。最明显的可能就是脱发呀，然后脸上可能就没有光泽，身上长那个斑点的话，真
That is way too skinny. And I don't actually think this is partially her fault. Even though weight loss is, or at least I think like in the vast majority of things, weight loss is something that you do control. But I know that a lot of people out there, sometimes their body has this thing where it doesn't process food right, or like in some way they either gain way too much weight for no reason, or they can't lose weight because their body makes it extremely difficult. But like these, like, where are the statistics that we saw earlier? Like right here. And then like I didn't really think much when it came to these statistics, but when the girl mentioned the app here, it kind of made me realize that like this graph, right? It's not just going to be like a linear line like this. It's not going to be a diagonal line. It's going to be curved, and it's going to be going up and up and up. So like I wouldn't be surprised in the future that China, or like any other Asian country for that matter, is going to have a fuck ton of people who are hospitalized because they're trying to be super perfect, or like very, very skinny. Because when you have apps like this, right? And I don't think the app by itself is wrong. I think it's fine to have apps that are like, oh, you should avoid these foods, you should eat at these times, here are the foods that you should eat, here are some recommended meals that you can make at home for like $15, right? But the environment that the app is being used in is really fucking bad, because you already have this like system where people are calling you out first time they see you. Oh my god, you've gained so much weight. Other people around you are already obsessed with how slim their hips are, how big their boobs are. And then when you have something that is so accessible on your phone, sometimes you feel like you don't have a choice. Like I feel like some of these girls didn't really have a choice, because peer pressure is really strong. Like it is really, really strong. Sometimes you just can't help but be like everyone else. And when that mindset is dangerous in the first place, in a place like China where there are billions of people living, that graph is only going to go up really fast as time goes on.
使用的东西里面，我整个人都会，虽然我人道我是不好这些，然后的话真的是到非常严重的时候了。还有就是停经，这个是很明显的。其他的话就是会有很强的抑郁的情绪。因为实在太瘦了，所以当时就直接进了重症监护，然后也开了病危。从那个之后呢，我是接受了先是医院里面的输液啊、营养液啊这些。然后我照镜子的时候，我也知道我是不好看的。其实我非常明显的知道我自己要变胖。 虽然我人很瘦，但是我会吃到肚子非常大，非常胀。
Oh my
就是
god.
有点像上瘾的感觉吧。我如果嘴里面没有东西，我就会觉得特别难过，甚至我整个人都会发抖。我父母也知道我非常多次在家里就跟他们说我想要自杀，是我妈妈跪着求我，就是说我们下辈子就不是一家人了。就是这个事情发生过非常多次。
哇！最近这2节课，老师发现不上狠点儿，没效果。当时是拍 MV，
If it's not useless, if it's not ruthless, it doesn't work. What a shitty fucking idea to have. And speaking of which, she has, like right here, at the time we were shooting a music video. You want to know why? Not just in China, but anywhere in the world, right? Anywhere. I'm talking about anywhere in the world that has any amount of people, especially first world countries. The number one reason why people are so obsessive about their bodies, it doesn't come from magazines, it doesn't come from K-dramas, it comes from music videos. Music videos, I can almost bet money that it is one, if not the most influential thing that a young person can see that can very easily fuck them up. Like, again, let's look at these music videos in Asia, because this video is about China. I don't know much about the Chinese rap scene other than Chris Wu, but apparently he's in jail for touching kids. But we can look at Korea, right? Korea, K-pop. K-pop is huge. I know, like, my friends watch K-pop. I know that some of you guys watch K-pop, okay? In K-pop, let's just look at how, like, they're made, right? Well, let's go to Blackpink, because they are a very famous girl group and they made a new music video called Pink Venom. But let's look at their most, like, let's try and find something. I know this one. I know that this one went fucking nuts. Hang on. Let's just find the shot where these girls are. Sure. Okay. Let's just look at it like this, okay? So, imagine if you are a impressionable 13, 14-year-old girl, right? And you just recently discovered K-pop. And then you listen to Blackpink songs and you go check out their music video, and this is what you see. So what do you see? She's pale. She has good posture. She has very nice skin. She's very skinny, and she has nice, luscious hair. Like nice curls at the bottom, very nice color. And then when you actually watch the video, she is extremely talented. She sings well, she raps well, and her confidence is just through the roof. That is what you see. And most importantly, that is your first impression. That is your first impression of this girl. I don't even know who this girl is. Okay, I'm probably gonna get canceled for that, but who cares? Okay, she is very, very beautiful, and she almost, in your eyes, looks perfect, right? She's famous, she's skinny, she's beautiful, has perfect skin, and she has millions of fans around the world, right? That is your first impression, and like anything, whether or not it's good or bad, whether the first impression is good or bad, it is very difficult to change your first impression. You remember your first impression of people, whether you actively think about it or not, because your actions reflect whether or not you like that person when you first met them, right? So when you have this first impression, it's extremely hard to break off. And these girls become obsessed because when they watch more and more and more of this stuff, because it's so easily accessible, they cannot help but think that's how they should be. And they strive to be like that, which is why in China, you have these people who resort to these very abusive mindsets where they say, if it's not ruthless, it doesn't work. And they got this from Korea because a lot of these idols go through these very harsh training regimens and diets that are straight up unbelievable. Like the banana diet, 1 banana per day. And I even heard that somebody could only eat ice, which is basically just drinking water, no food. Like, okay, maybe she had food, but like her diet most of the day was just pure like water and ice, which is just fucked up. And that's normal. China's latest online skinny fat sparks concern. Jinbo of the Chinese University of Hong Kong, who studies mental health and body image, said his latest research on Chinese adolescents found that the more time a teenager spent on social media, the more likely the teen will be dissatisfied with his or her body. Exactly. Where do you find music videos? Online. Social media. I didn't even talk about Instagram. I only talked about YouTube music videos. But Instagram, oh my God. God knows how long teenagers these days are spending time on Instagram. Jesus Christ. I wouldn't be surprised if every person was insecure about themselves because of social media. Jesus.
Studies have shown that the more time a teenager spends on social media, the more likely they are to be dissatisfied with their body.
Yup.
An online survey on worldwide beauty standards found that out of 27 countries, Chinese women came out top in believing that skinny body types make a woman beautiful.
Wow.
猜想哈，我要是没有出国，我可能会也跟其他姑娘一样，非常非常注意这个就是这个身材的问题啊，然后算算卡路里呀、戒糖啊什么什么的。
When Alex was 27, she moved to New York for 2 years to study for her master's. She also became a Zumba instructor. In America, she was complimented
She looks
on her figure,
fine.
but this
That is
wasn't the
not
case when
fat.
she returned to China.
我就在低头看我的车到哪儿了，然后有一个遛狗的大爷，他带了2只狗，然后走到我旁边来，走过来，回头看我说：“真该减肥了啊！”然后就走了。我就是哇塞
Exactly.
我就完全不知道该怎么反应，我也不知道。
That is normal. That is normal. That is probably like, this is not even my dad, who was born and raised in Korea for like a good 20-30 years. He never liked that once. And me, as somebody who's born and raised in America, even I really don't like that. So I can only imagine how these people feel. She might be smiling right now, but when you hear a comment like that in a society like China, when it comes to weight and figure, oh, I bet you she cried a lot.
我是穿的冒犯了他，还是长相冒？对我来说，那个就特别的莫名的，让我觉得有点难受。在纽约那边，可能大家就对于说尊巴老师这个期待跟国内的不一样吧，他可能更希望的是一种你的编舞也好，你的气氛也好啊，然后你的这种感染力也好，可能对他们来说更重要。那国内就是觉得说，你如果教跳舞的话，你肯定要，就算你不是瘦的，起码你要比较标准的身材。
I'm not sure if that's just an Asian thing, because I've seen dance classes in America and in Korea, and like, actually, you know what? 10 out of 10 times the instructor was not fat, fairly skinny. Their stomach was not protruding out at all. So maybe this isn't exclusively a China thing, or maybe I shouldn't see it as just like an Asian thing. But I'm not even sure if that's particularly wrong, because in everything there are expectations, and for expectations sometimes you have no choice but to meet them. Like, that's where stereotypes come from. When you think of a businessman, like you think of a person wearing like a nice dress or like a nice suit, and they're like on their phone making phone calls, screaming at somebody to like sell their stocks or something, right? Or if you think of a lawyer, you think of a mallet. If you think of a doctor, you think of a stethoscope. I mean, there are those expectations, and maybe when it comes to dance, you expect a skinny dance instructor because they're moving all the time and they're doing all these crazy moves, and you can't help but be skinny.
Since her recovery, Paw has reclaimed social media to spread awareness about eating disorders, a topic that's still not openly discussed in China.
国外其实对于进食障碍他们非常了解，也没有太多人会对你进行身材的羞辱。但是你如果在国内讲的话，其实并没有太多人知道。
BM 是品牌 Brandy Melville 的缩写，是一个初创于意大利的时尚品牌。
国内可能因为近几年的互联网的发展啊，那大家更加的觉得好像瘦才是美的，然后这样的信息在普及开来，所以很多的孩子当他们能接触到互联网的时候，就很容易被这个所影响。
所有的女孩都拼命的减肥，为了把自己塞进只有一个尺码的 BM 衣服里。
也不是说近几年才有这样的疾病，只不过说近几年大家能更加快的知道瘦是一个标准，然后再更快的会演化成更多人都会陷入这样子的情况。
She mentioned like a minute ago or like a couple seconds ago when it comes to weight loss and body image, or like not being completely openly talked about. That is probably one of the biggest differences when it comes to America and Asia. You better not say something that goes against what the vast majority of people feel, especially in China, because especially if you post it on social media and the government does not like it, they will find you like within a couple hours. Like, I think that same situation happened with one of the ladies for the Chinese tennis team. She said something that China did not like. She disappeared for a couple months, and then she came back, and all of a sudden she was like, nope, I never said that. There's an image that needs to be kept. And the problem with keeping an image when it involves so many people is that it is guaranteed to inconvenience like a good 90% of them. Because when you're leading a group of people like that, somebody needs to be in charge, or like a group of people needs to be in charge, and they make the majority of the decisions, and then the rest just kind of have to live with it. So then again, when it comes to like the stereotype, again, a stereotype or like / expectation forms where you need to be like the rules, or you need to adhere to the rules that these people have set. And in this case, it's being skinny. And because people don't want to go against that, because there are so many people who agree about it, the people who don't fit into that are just essentially just left to die.
Since 2020, Cindy has lost a total of 15 kilograms.
我的这些变化嘛，是我自己本身就是想要去有一个改变。如果我自己都不能掌控我自己的身体的话，那真的跟一个
Okay, there's something I need to address. Compared to what she looked like before when she had a lot of weight and how she looks like now, I do prefer her looking like this. But I think the point is that like everybody needs to remember is that it's fine to have a preference, but when you start putting that preference, or when you change that preference into an expectation, that's when things get bad. Because even though Cindy might look very skinny, she has nice thin legs, small hips, and whatever, she now has like a fucked up mindset where she knows that she made this decision, that even though she made this decision of her own free will, it was extremely biased to where she had no choice but to make this decision to begin with. And sure, people can live with this being like, oh yeah, sure, like I can just eat less sugar, gain weight, exercise a lot. But like everything, people cannot survive like, of course, like, people cannot survive if they have a very bad mental state, shitty mental health. You can't live without a healthy body, but you also, as equal, if not more, cannot live without a healthy mind. So, like, even though you are having these goals, if you're not doing it for the right reasons, that is where things start to get a bit dangerous. And I can't make that decision whether it's dangerous or not because it's not my choice. But from an observation standpoint, this is going down a bit of a risky path.
是我自己本身就是想要去有一个改变。如果我自己都不能掌控我自己的身体的话，那真的跟一个商品，一个活在大家心目中的一个就被包装出来的一个人，就没有什么区别了呀。
最受欢迎的一条，看到没？1.5万。
瘦下来之后，就感觉照镜子觉得自己更美了。就除了
Good for you
心理暗示觉得自己更好看了，没有什么别的益处。我觉得好身材的标准是屁股翘。
I mean, she's honest about it. That is true. A lot of people appreciate a nice ass.
不要觉得说我瘦了他们就会喜欢我，你瘦了还会有人说你，你健身了还会有人说你，你做了眉毛，你做了什么还会有人说你，永远都会有人说你。如果你透过我的身材看不到我的本质，这是你的问题，不是我的问题。
Nice。
我现在对我的身材这个状况不满意，但我觉得没毛病。我觉得爱自己是接受，爱自己不是说我要给自己打100分。对于我来讲，就是说爱自己，就是我能很客观地接受在一件事情上我的长处和我的缺陷。
Warpo is trying to normalize the conversation around eating disorders and has connected with other influencers to spread awareness.
我所有的自信感都是来自别人给我的，就是我自己其实也没有什么，而且我特别想要，就是感受到别人对我是关心的，是喜欢的。
就是生病以后，我才觉得，就身材根本没有那么重要，因为经历过之前ED 的时候，就知道当时的状况多糟糕，就不会再想回到那个状态里。
After I experienced ED, I knew how bad the situation was. Oh, eating disorder, not the thing that fucks up guys.
就知道当时的状况多糟糕，就不会再想回到那种状态里。
我觉得这是自由的、健康的，就是美。
我们都是有家人的人，都是有人会更愿意去相信我们，更愿意去包容我们，大家一起成长的朋友，所以就没有那么孤独了，在这条抗争的道路上。
哎，绿的，啊，你就是纯做题啊。
我个人觉得美的标准，它就是一个舒服的状态，你自己觉得舒服的状态。那最正常的可能就是我很尊重我现在的身材，我很尊重我的食欲，我很好的在照顾它，这就是一个最美的状态。
I think that's good. I think Vice did a pretty good job when it comes to summing up China when it comes to like weight. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, like towards the end of the video, I wonder if this expectation applies to like older people, because we've only focused on like people in like, I'm assuming like their 20s and maybe like 30s. But either way, really good video. I think there are some things that are left out, but I think they also did a really good job in like providing a baseline, because they covered a lot of points that are not just in China, but also in like Korea and Japan, right? And I think those three countries in particular, like the three most well-known Asian countries, are probably sharing a lot of these problems. But the main difference is that different problems are being highlighted more depending on which country you're talking about. But good video, good job. Hopefully these girls keep doing what they're doing. But overall, good video.